You are one of the millions of people that attended one of the thousands of protests around the US empire and around the world yesterday. Amazing. Now what? I share again some lessons from Korean protest culture, where protesting is in our blood and a way of life itself. We in Korea just successfully impeached the president within 4 months of him dangerously declaring martial law that put everyone at risk. We did it through the power of people protesting. And yes, while our countries and government are different, we can still share the power of people organizing. Protest is valuable for so many reasons, but it is not the conclusion of our work. It's just the beginning. Protest is part of a whole. Protesting isn't the end of a path. It's part of the path itself. And one of the reasons why energy often fades or is forgotten after large protests is because people view the protest as the event itself. Protest isn't an event. It's also not the solution itself. Protest is one of many tools to building resistance and community. It helps build collective consciousness to keep building towards collective liberation. Protest is a practice in and of itself. Protesting can be a drop of water that helps create the momentum for the crash of the wave, but it has to be continuous to create that wave. In Korea, it's not that a protest happens and then we wait for another protest to happen down the line. It is that we are continuously protesting with crescendo until we get what we demand. So instead of protest high to low to protest high, or something that resembles the jagged skyline of skyscrapers, for Koreans it's the ongoing buildup within the crescendo of a wave that then bolsters the next wave indefinitely. There's always movement toward momentum. A protest always builds on the previous, which builds up to the next, and so on. This is different from what I feel happens in the US more recently, which resembles a pattern of that jagged skyline, where a protest happens and another will happen, where each is regarded as an event, separate from the one before and separate from the next, where the protest almost becomes the objective itself. It is as if you have to start over again from scratch every single time. Not only with the energy, but with the mobilizing, the scaffolding, logistics, messaging, political education, and with the critical mass. Now remember, I'm talking more about the recent instances of protest in the United States empire, because historically, it hasn't always been the case that it has been that separated. One of the recent exceptions were the protests for Black Lives, where there was sustained cumulative momentum before, after, and between. The pattern of jagged interruption mindset not only causes fatigue, but also creates separation between struggles and reinforces the harmful culture of individualism, instead of uplifting the interdependence needed to build upward and outward. There can be no continuity if there is no connection. And unfortunately, if that's the case, there can be no crescendo either. Remember to zoom out and connect the struggles. Community organizing pulls these struggles together. For Black Lives, for Palestine, for land back, disability justice, against US imperialism, against borders, against cop cities and militarism. Those are all part of a continuous cause for the liberation of all oppressed peoples. Protests, too, should be connected and continuous through all of these struggles. Protests don't stop. Resistance is continuous. And it just so happens that protesting in the streets is highly visible. So it is a fantastic conduit to help inspire people, to make people believe in something, build power, embolden, bring in new people, educate many, and prompt further action. But it can take days, months, and even years of protest to get what you demand. We can't simply think that we are at a protest. We have to ingrain in our understanding that we are in protest for as long as it takes as a way of life itself. And there are so many forms of protest that should be part of that whole too. Between the very visible protesting in the streets, there can be an infinite number of protesting in other shapes, such as digital organizing, sustained boycotts, interrupting politicians, community groceries and gardens, rallies, actions, disruptions, writing, calling, free food programs, free learning in libraries, or even neighborhood political education circles. So don't only boost the mass street protests, but also the daily protests that can and are happening all around you. For every barrage of genocide, eugenics, fascism, anti-blackness, anti-indigeneity, ableism, transphobia, anti-immigrantism, and militarism, uplift protests big and small and share them all with others. Make people aware that protesting is happening all the time. Amplify and bring them to the forefront so that people understand that it never stops. We don't stop and we make the connections. Whether it was 100 in a small town or 100,000 in a major city, people showed up. People get to witness each other through protest. There are more of us than you think than they think, and there is more courage than you could ever imagine. You are not alone. You witnessed millions beside you, and these protests affirm that. And also, we must protest between protests. Drops to waves. To make the connections, ask yourself, what did you learn? What did you come to understand? What did you experience? What did you want to see more of? How will you build on that? How will you build on that with others? How will you build it into the following protests? Build on, build with. There's no need to start over every single time. Continuous connect crescendo.